Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. It's Wade T. Lightheart with the Awesome Health Podcast, and I am so excited today. I would like to say I'm almost orgasmic because we are talking to Susan Bratton, who happens to be an expert in the most important thing, the topic, the taboo, the thing we all secretly want to know about, and that's all about sex. We're going to talk about orgasms. We're going to talk about the difference between men and women. You know, I got to say, Susan, we met last year at an event in Mexico, the beautiful resort. And I can still remember the first moment seeing you across the lobby of the room. And you're this beautiful blonde woman, very tall. I'm a short guy, so I was like, wow, she's amazing. And what was really impressive is the kind of energy that you carried in the room. And I think it's something that was really powerful, really magnetic. And of all the people I was in that place, you made probably the biggest impression on myself and my fiance. You just automatically stood out. And I think a lot of it has to do with being able to activate your sexual energy, your sexual power, and how magnetic that is. And what's amazing is this is an area that you've been working on for a long time, and you've been sharing a lot of inside stuff. And so we're all anxious to find out, because sexual health is really important. And there's a lot of people struggling with this. There's a lot of people that, you know, if you look at the amount of sex that's happening, you look at hormone issues, you look at relationship issues. Obviously, sex is everywhere on TV except where it needs to be, which is in our houses and things going on. So welcome to the Awesome Health Podcast.
That was such a nice intro, Wade. Thank you so much. I remember seeing you up on the stage and being totally dazzled by your charisma. So really enjoying becoming friends with you and getting to know you better. And thank you so much for having me on the show and being brave enough to talk about things like how to achieve our orgasmic potential and the difference between men and women in the bedroom. Those are two really good subjects. And I've got tons of what I like to call little hinges that swing big doors, little aha moments where you're like, oh, well, that's why she does that. Or, oh, that's why he grabs me like that. Oh, I didn't know. Okay, well, now I understand. It's not that he's just being annoying, you know. I like to clear up a lot of issues, and then I like to give people kind of like, okay, here's where you are. And now here's where you could go. This is what's possible for you. So, yeah.
I'm so excited about that. And you know, I think it's something that can't be overestimated, because a lot of people, I think, are really struggling in this area and they don't want to talk about it. You kind of end up with these secret conversations, especially when you get to into your 30s and 40s and beyond. All of a sudden it's kind of like, hey, you know what? Who are we kidding here? It's like, and the problem is, I think a lot of our sexual education is really not focused enough. A lot of people are uncomfortable about talking about these topics, and they kind of live in this kind of lie for decades and decades, and they go from relationship to relationship, and they think it's them or they think it's the other person. But at the end of the day, they just don't have the right training. And today we're going to dive into it. So tell me, I want to find out how to activate my maximum orgasmic pleasure. I think that sounds great. And I want to know the differences from men and women. So please enlighten us.
Okay. So I think the first place to start is our orgasmic potential. I recently just finished 2 videos for a masterclass that I have that are called the 16 types of female orgasm and the 14 types of male orgasm.
So wait a second, you're talking 30 different types of orgasms here.
Yeah. And my cameraman, he goes, how come girls get 2 more and what the hell are the 14?
That's all right. Already, I'm excited. Because I'm pretty sure I've not had all 14 different male sexual orgasms, and I don't think I've initiated 16 different orgasms in any woman in my life. So I can't wait to learn this info.
Well, and I'm going to go #goals, #relationship goals, right? Like, okay, tell me, mama. So let's just talk about a few of them. So the first thing, we'll start with men. And though I think it would take an entire podcast to go through all 14 and 16. So I'll just give you some highlights and some general directions.
Sure.
Essentially, the way men generally think about their orgasm is they have they have pleasure and arousal, and then they come up and they climb and climb and climb, and it feels better and better and better. And then they have their climax, they ejaculate, and then ooh, they're done. And when you're young, you can do that a couple times because you have a quick refractory period.
Mm-hmm.
And as you age, you have both loss of firmness as well as loss of sensation. So you have atrophy or shrinkage and sensation loss because your nervous system isn't operating as optimally as it did when you aged. You don't have the blood flow that you did. These things happen. And by the way, they happen for women as well as men. Women and men have exactly the same amount of genital tissue and structure. I say men are outies and women are innies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference. She has as much erectile tissue up inside her as he does externally. And he has 50% of his penis is inside his abdomen and 50% is what I would call the showing part. So there's a lot of buried treasure and buried pleasure in our bodies. That's number one thing. The interesting thing about male orgasm is that orgasm and ejaculation are entirely separate systems in the body.
Correct.
So for most men, they think, okay, when I ejaculate, I have an orgasm and I ejaculate. Those two things are intertwined. They are one and the same, two sides of the same coin. They're not at all. You just do them together.
Right.
One of the big areas of exploration for men is in male multiple orgasm. And male multiple orgasm, as created by the Taoists around 1000 BC, and then brought into the 19th and 20th centuries by, tantric practitioners and Montauk Chia and people like that, has now been moved into the 21st century in a whole new way. Where it used to be that if you talk to a man about being a multi-orgasmic man, he naturally associated that with semen retention. And a lot of guys are like, I don't want to retain any semen. I want to let it loose. And studies have shown that men have better prostate health when they ejaculate frequently rather than retain their semen. However, like all humans, we're on a bell curve, and there are people who literally feel bad when they ejaculate, and other people who need frequent ejaculation, and most people are somewhere in the middle, 3, 5, 7 times a week type of thing. Now, when you're thinking about male orgasm, there's a couple of things. One is that you can have a lot of different types of orgasms, and I'll just mention a few of them. So one of them is the ejaculatory straight up, I have a climax, I ejaculate. The second one is I don't ejaculate, I actually have a full body orgasm. I have a heartgasm. I've connected my genitals to my heart and I feel an explosion of love and a high level of orgasmic sensation. Or I can circulate my orgasmic pleasure instead of out of my penis. I can pull it into my body and I can feel that, even a braingasm or out the top of my head, this microcosmic orbit circuiting the electric energy of our desire out and into the universe and connecting with spirit or God or Gaia. You can have heartgasms, braingasms, divine spiritual orgasms. And what's great is that learning how to separate ejaculation and orgasm it literally is a learned skill. And the best way to do it is not what guys think. They think they should learn it by edging. What guys actually want to do is they want to do what's called riding the wave.
What's edging?
Edging is where you take yourself to the moment of climax and you keep the stimulation such that you stretch that moment of climax out like taffy, so you don't go over the edge to orgasm. You actually stay in that orgasmic peak experience and make it last longer. And that's a good practice, but that still results in ejaculation, where riding the wave is a different type of stimulation where you're essentially, if you think about your arousal on a scale of 1 to 10, you learn how to separate orgasm and ejaculation and how to manage your arousal. Really good for guys with premature ejaculation to do this riding the wave technique. And 1 in 4 men feel that they ejaculate too quickly. So we're talking about a super common problem. Probably the number one sex issue of the male-bodied person is premature ejaculation. They want to last longer. And this is a way you can train yourself to do it and train yourself to separate orgasm from ejaculation. It's the road to becoming a multi-orgasmic man, and that is riding the wave. Scale of 1 to 10, you take yourself through masturbation at first, and then you can learn how to maintain this during intercourse. You take yourself to a 5 and pull back. You take yourself back up to a 6 and then pull back to a 7, pull back to an 8, pull back to a 9, pull back and you pull back down to a 5 each time. So you take yourself to a 6, back to a 5, 7 to a 5, 8 to a 5, 9 to a 5, 10 to a 5. Like you can barely contain your desire to let go, but you can because you have the ability to down-regulate your arousal and pull the arousal into your body and spread the urge to ejaculate into your body and feel the pleasure in your body. For most men, their genitals are like this separate entity that they haven't connected with their heart, connected with their body. So as you do this riding the wave where you're going up and down, up and down, up and down, it does a couple things. Number one, it trains you to manage your arousal ladder. Number two, it pulls the semen kind of up and down in your prostate. And it actually allows the fluid that gathers at the bottom of that little walnut gland to mix in with the new semen so that when you ejaculate, you're moving the old fluid out as well as the new fluid. Instead of just taking yourself up and ejaculating where you don't get that mixing, if you will, you're moving it out and you're doing it. It's very healthy for the prostate. It gives you stamina. It's one of the paths to male multiple orgasm, etc. And then speaking of the prostate is erectile tissue. That walnut gland is very homologous, which means the same as the G spot in woman. And the woman, we have both a G, and it's not a spot, it's an area, and I'll tell you more about that. We have a G spot and we have a perineal sponge on the bottom. Our vaginal canal is surrounded by erectile tissue. And for the man, he has the prostate, which is located inside the rectum toward the abdomen, not toward his back. So up and in, similar to the G spot, up and in. And so that finger crooking experience, what you can't see if you're listening to the podcast is that I'm crooking my finger because you go up and press up like that. That's the P spot and the G spot, man and woman. They're very, very similar. And the P spot is a seat of pleasure for a man. And he has the ability to have prostate orgasms. So he can have retrograde ejaculation where he doesn't let the ejaculate come out of the end of his penis. It actually goes back into his bladder. He can have P-spot orgasms where there's perineal stimulation up under the testicles. That's called the $1 million point. You can touch the prostate from the perineum area, the landing pad of skin between the back of the testicles and the beginning of the anus, that area. You can press that for P-spot. You can go inside the rectum and press up and give that massage. So you can have a prostate massage straight up. You can have a blended penis and prostate stimulation massage or orgasm. So there's a lot of different ways to accomplish orgasm, including, even though the nipples are vestigial for men, because we all start out as females in the womb. And then about between 8 and 16 weeks, we get a bath of hormones that change half of us into male-bodied people. So we start to get an outie instead of an innie. We all started as vulva owners, interestingly enough. Vagina owners, we call it a vulva now because the vagina is just one part of the overall genital system. So you call your woman's parts a vulva. And so because we have all of this wonderful erectile tissue, including the buried shaft of the penis that goes into the abdomen, the male-bodied person can have a lot of different types of orgasm, including nipple-gasms. And nipple-gasms for many men have orgasms just from nipple-gasms. Many men can have orgasms from kissing. We've got a lot of erectile tissue in our lips, our tongue, our throat, the tip of our nose. If you ever get turned on and you wonder why your nose is itchy, it's erectile tissue stimulation. So there are erogenous zones all over our body, and the opportunity to expand the ways that you orgasm and the ways you feel and spread orgasmic pleasure through your body are literally infinite. But those are just some of the examples of male orgasmic potential.
I'm excited already, Argy. This is really awesome. I'm super pumped.
Good.
So now we've dealt with a few of the male possibilities.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the female possibilities and then how we might activate this orgasmic potential in ourselves and also in our partners?
Yeah. I think this is where a conversation about the difference between the masculine and feminine is a really valuable piece to discuss before actually the touching of the parts and the places that can give orgasm, because men being testosterone, and by the way, if you're somewhere in the gender spectrum and you don't identify strictly as, non-binary type cisgender person.
I have a hard time keeping track. I know in Canada we have 72 different gender identifications now, and I'm at male and female, and that's about as far as I understand. I'm trying to figure out all this stuff.
Yeah, we're all trying to support people that don't feel like they're specifically a man or a woman. So we all are holding everyone in our hearts around wanting them to be as self-expressed as possible, and they're holding in their heart that we're on a learning curve. Right. That's how I like to think about it, right?
Very well said.
But for the sake of this conversation, you were born primarily as either estrogen dominant or testosterone dominant. And so I think when we say male or man, female or woman, what we're really talking about is you're a vulva owning estrogen dominant OG, or you're a penis owning testosterone dominant OG. And however that's currently self-expressed is awesome for all of us, and we support you in that too.
I love it. I'm the testosterone OG.
Yes.
I love it.
It's the OG. I'm the EOG.
So MTOG, male testosterone OG. There we go. MTOG.
Because what happens is that there are a lot of different things. The male and female brain are very different. There's a lot of differences between them. Whether we are, based on what neurotransmitter we're more dominant in, whether we're at acetylcholine or GABA or dopamine or serotonin, that has an effect on how we approach our sexuality as well as the rest of our life. Whether we're more visual, auditory, or kinesthetic during lovemaking, that has an effect. Our hormones have an effect. Of course, our gut bacteria is telling us everything about what to do. They are the actual rulers, right? And then we have hormonal cyclical experience. Men are hormonally cyclical, as are women. Women just have they have big tides of ebb and flow. Men have smaller. He's the low tide ebb and flow, and she's the high tide. She's got the king tides and the neap tides and things like that. And even after menopause, women are equally as hormonally cyclical. Just because they don't have menses anymore or have an egg that they drop, they still are very cyclical. So here's the thing about testosterone. Testosterone is very goal-oriented. It's forward momentum. It's confident. It's sure. It knows it can do it. It wants to win. It needs respect. It wants gratitude and appreciation for how awesome it is. It's single-minded, very single-minded. It can get into a sexual state and the world can fall away very easily. It wants to go for it. It wants its penis touched immediately. It wants to be calmed by the touch of its penis. The female body, the estrogen is all over the map. The estrogen's worried about everything. The estrogen has more anxiety. The estrogen's thinking about things. The estrogen has a hard time getting into her body. She does not want you to touch her genitals immediately. That pisses her off big time. Estrogen needs her hair stroked, her eyes kissed, full body touch, a foot rub before foreplay, and lots of blood flow to her genitals, not touching her nipples, starting with her breasts, working from the outside in, hands, feet, back, belly, butt, head, then into breasts, but not nipples, that, like that. It's like call it my bullseye touch technique. Testosterone is like, bullseye, just touch my thing. Estrogen is like, don't touch my things, work from the outside in, start at the outside ring.
Oh, the voices.
Next ring, and then the next ring, right? So that's why our president is a grabber, because he thinks because that's what he wants. That's what guys want. They're like, right, well, I got to get you turned on. And then here's another thing that testosterone doesn't understand about estrogen. Because testosterone's ready to go. Testosterone's like, here we go, let's get it on. And estrogen's like, ooh, I'm not sure. Is it warm enough? Is this sheet scratchy? Do we have any lube? Am I going to really be able to orgasm? You know, estrogen has a lot more worry, anxiety, and need for the set and setting and the context. Am I going to get pregnant? Am I getting an STI? How does my vagina feel? You know, it's thinking about all those things. So what testosterone has to do is it has to set the frame, create the safe space, get the temperature right, put on the music, get the jug of water, make sure the towels are both clean and soft, have the kind of lube that her vulva likes. Oh, yes, I only use organic coconut oil. I love organic avocado oil. I need petroleum jelly, whatever. Although I wouldn't recommend petroleum jelly. I always say if you wouldn't put it in your mouth, you shouldn't put it in your vulva or your penis, because that mucous membrane is the same and you're absorbing toxins, which is the last thing you want to do. You're trying to get the toxins out, not in. So the vulva owner, she needs a lot more caretaking. She needs you as the testosterone person to initiate, to calm her down, to get her in her body, to remind her how much she likes sex. Men get frustrated. How come she never initiates sex? How come I always have to do it? Because you're the dude. It's your job. You set the frame. You're the masculine sexual leadership. She is the surrender to her pleasure. You are the frame of co-creative pleasure. You are the leader. And once a guy understands that and he gets over his kind of male pattern anger and victimhood around feeling rejected because she doesn't initiate sex and being like, dude, girls don't really initiate sex. Now, some do. Some women do. They have a more masculine approach, but what women say to me, the number one thing they want in a man, besides good grooming, is emotional connection and to be able to ravish her and to give her unbelievable pleasure and to really know how her body works and to really give her the level of stimulation that gets her out of her head and just into a rapturous space with him. She needs him to be driving. He takes over her sailboat. He's got the tiller. He's sailing it. He's getting her there. She's coasting and riding. She's being taken. Can you switch? Yes. Do lovers switch? Yes. When they get very good. If she's not switchy already, she hasn't been driven well. Her boat has not been driven well. And so she just needs more orgasms, more time, more confidence. And then pretty soon she'll be so confident in herself and her orgasmic ability that and comfortable with you and your equipment. And you've taught her, that's how I like it, baby. Let me show you what to do. Here's what feels good to me. And you've taught her how to pleasure you too. Then one day you'll wake up and she'll be like, lie down on the bed. I'm doing you. But you work your way up to that because that's not estrogen's natural state. That's all learned, as are orgasms. So those are the differences between men and women, which I think are a very important part, because if I just tell you where to touch and press and you don't think about setting the lover space and creating the context and being the leader, you could press all day long. Somebody said to me a funny joke. They said, the clitoris is not an elevator button. You just don't bang on it like this to try to go higher. I just thought that was
well said.
Well said. What she needs is a lot of long, slow arousal to bring all the blood flow into her genitals.
The Bioptimizer mission is to help more of the world fix their digestion at a core level. The truth is, your digestion is only as good as your enzyme levels. Imagine trying to build a house with a tree. It's impossible. You need to chop the tree down into small pieces. Similarly, in order for your food to be used by your body, it must be broken down into a bioavailable form. And that's what enzymes do, converting protein into amino acids, fats into specific fatty acids, and carbohydrates into usable energy units. We start out with an abundance of enzymes, and that's why kids can digest just about anything really quickly. The thing is cooking food kills enzymes, as they cannot survive at temperatures above 118 degrees. So years of this ends up depleting our bodies and leads to weak digestion. Taking digestive enzymes like masszymes, which has an incredibly high level of protease for digesting protein, as well as other critical enzymes like lipase, amylase, and others, is a total game changer. Suddenly, you strengthen your digestion, eliminate gas and bloating, boost metabolism, and multiply your energy. Most importantly, you fix your digestion at a core level. To get started with masszymes and to save 10% on your first order, go to masszymes.com. That's MASSZYMES.com and use the code MASS10, MASS10.
Now, when you say a long, slow arousal, because, men, is that 2 minutes? Is that 2 hours? Is that 2 days? Is that 2 weeks? Is it 2 months? Is it 2 years? What is it like? What would you say that bell curve range typically is?
You know how they say it takes about 20 minutes for a woman to get aroused? That's about what it takes for full blood flow to the clitoral tissue with direct manual stimulation and oral pleasuring. 20 minutes. But you don't want to start there. You don't want to be just like, boom, with your hands on her.
Right.
You have to do full body touch. But here's what I like. Let me give you a really good love-making date arousal ladder.
That's great.
Yeah, this is
Take your notes, folks.
freaking liquid gold.
Get on this right now. Here is the map.
Here's Bratton's mic
treasure
drop
chest.
Okay,
I
so
got my pen and paper. I'm writing down.
you're so cute. Transcripts will be provided for this podcast.
Yes.
All right. So the first thing, I'm going to give you a technique. It's called the soulmate embrace. And I've written it literally step by step so that a woman can teach her man and a man can learn how to do this. And this creates the polarity that you need in a monogamous relationship, especially when you're trying to override the monotony of monogamous sex. This is a really good place to start. And I'm going to give this to you. It's an excerpt from, and I have my book right here. I'm going to hold it up.
Oh, please.
It's an excerpt from Sexual Soulmates, the 6 Essentials of Connected Sex. Over 15 years of teaching people how to have passionate lovemaking, these are the 6 major needle movers. And I'm going to give you the 7th one right here.
I want this book.
I'm sending it to you, an autographed copy, Wade, immediately.
Please do so.
And everything and anything else you want, my darling.
Oh, and is this available on Amazon and stuff like that?
Yeah.
We'll be able to put links to that. By the way, folks, we will put links to this book. Buy one for yourself. Buy more for your family.
So the soulmate embrace is what helps a woman get into her body and out of her head. It establishes the masculine-feminine polarity where she's been out being a warrior and now she wants you to just ravish her in the bedroom. You got to get her into her feminine body. It also goes with the way our arousal works. So where testosterone is like, I got a heart on, let's go. Estrogen is super slow to get turned on, and estrogen actually needs to be relaxed first before you can arouse. And if you think about the parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system, it's a toggling, actually. The same way that if you want to make a woman come really hard with incredible orgasmic intensity, you take her up and give her an orgasm and then give her a little break, even just an intentional kind of down stimulation to let her system rest, and then you take her up again, and then you take her up again. But each one, she needs rests between them to really max out her orgasmic capacity.
And that just kind of keeps her in the right nervous system response.
You toggle back and forth. Yeah. So you take her up, give her a break, take her up, give her a break. And that way she'll stack and get more and more and more intense orgasms. You can't just, she's not like you just turn it on and dial it up. You have to dial it up and let it go down a little, dial it up and let it go down a little, dial it up. But each time you're going higher, but you're backing off a little on the rheostat, back off and then take her up, back off and then take her up. So it's
kind of like going to those multi-level malls where you take the escalator up and then you got to walk around the floor to the other side and get the next escalator up, and then you got to walk around that side and take the next escalator up.
I am totally using that from now on. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, maybe that's why women love shopping in the mall where you go. It actually is equating a sexual experience. I don't know.
Well, one of the things I like to do is I like to tell women they should have as many vibrators and sex toys as they do shoes, because you need different things for different jobs. But I'll come on another time and we can talk all about how to incorporate.
I can tell we're going to have a part
toys.
2 of this. Part 1 is not enough.
Let's call this one part 1.
Yeah.
All right, so the soulmate embrace. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to put on cotton pajamas, and you want her to have on a cotton pajama. You want to lie down on your bed. You want to put your big, beefy arm right out there for her. She nestles in it. She puts her head on your shoulder. A pillow might go on your shoulder to make it more comfortable for her. It depends on how big your shoulder is and how big her head is. She lies with you, and you've got your arm around her. Now, I like you to start with that arm around her at her sacrum, at the base of her spine, right where her butt dimples are. And I want you to pull her close to you. And then I want you to just breathe her. Your lungs are bigger than hers. So you are going to take more shallow breaths, but you're going to intentionally tell her body with your body to slow her breathing down and to go much more deeply. So you're going to breathe her intentionally. You're just going to set that rhythm up. And then you're going to say, breathe with me, baby. And you're going to do it so that it takes her into deep breath, but not as deep as you'd need. So you're going to breathe a little more shallow. Once that's going, you want to feel her, you'll feel her relax. And this is the point at which most people just think they're done with the hold. She relaxed, let her go. No. When you feel her body start to relax, you want to pull her tighter to you. You want to just pull her a little closer. You want to pull that other hand, put that on the sacrum, move your arm up, squeeze her on the shoulders across her wings a little bit, and just pull her a little closer. Now, you can move around a bit, you can relax and then pull her closer, but what you want her to do is feel the comfort of your arms, your masculine security and safety. And then what's going to happen as she relaxes is she's going to have some things she needs to say. It's going to arise. She needs to let down emotionally by expressing and speaking out things that have been bothering her. She's got to get things off her chest. You just let that happen. This is her time to let those things go.
And what would those things might be, just as a curiosity component that guys are like would she let, like, what could be anything, or is it typical stuff? Is it stuff about the relationship, friends, work, whatever?
All of that.
Uh-huh.
You know what my boss did today? Oh my God, I got this big order. I'm worried. Hey, we've got to go see your mom next Sunday. What are we taking? Anything that's on her mind, because her monkey mind, her estrogen mind, is thinking about 72,000 things. And you got to get that stuff out of there so she can get into her body, so she can get hot sex with you and have incredible orgasms. You want to give her incredible pleasure.
No, this would be a point where a lot of guys would get frustrated, I suspect.
Yeah, you just listen.
Right. So you got to just stay cool, stay calm, stay collected while she unloads, because this is part of the foreplay process.
Yeah, you're not fixing anything. You're just listening. She's flowing off steam.
Got it.
That's how she lets go. That's how she lets down and calms down and gets into her body. And you don't need to do anything about it, but just go, okay, baby, got it. Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah. To what else? Tell me everything.
That's a great voice.
Oh, yeah. I've got my Mac Daddy voice.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah. Sounds almost like Barry White.
Definitely. The lower you go. And that's another thing. If you feel yourself getting stressed out as a man, do this. Go, mm-hmm. And then when you speak, you're going to be speaking in your low masculine voice. That really turns her on.
Yeah, think Barry White.
Yeah, and the way to get to Barry is It drops your vocal range. Right. Now, I tell guys when they're nervous about talking to girls, go, hey, how you doing? Right? And all of a sudden she's like, oh, I want him.
Right.
We like that.
That deep, resonant kind of,
So she's gotten stuff off her chest. Now I want you to look her in the eyes. Just pull back a little bit, look her in the eyes and go, baby, I just love you so much. You're so beautiful to me. And then pull her closer. You've made eye contact. You're now the dominant. You're the alpha male. You looked her in the eyes. She looked at you. You established the window to the soul connection. You're starting the soulmate connection. And then you can start stroking her body. You'll know that it's time for you to start running her. Remember, she's got jammies on, and so do you, because you don't want to get sweaty and you don't want to be scratchy on her. You don't even want her thinking about sweaty and scratchy.
Because that's going to throw off the monkey mind again, right?
Yes.
Got
and
it.
then, and I like those rayon fisherman pants, those wrap pants that they use a lot in like jujitsu and Balinese. Those are nice for guys. They're made out of cotton and rayon. They're really soft with a cotton t-shirt, a soft cotton t-shirt. That's a nice thing to wear for you during this situation.
Right.
And then now what you're doing is maybe you, and some women like this squeezing. You're actually going to squeeze up and down her body a little bit and almost squeeze the tension out. And the more muscly you are, the nicer this is. That's one of the great things about being a muscly guy, is that you have the ability to exert a lot of obtuse pressure on her body. And that squeezes out emotion and relaxes her. And then stroke her with long strokes. Stroke her hair, kiss her on the forehead, kiss her eyelids, kiss her cheeks, stroke her body, long, smooth, nurturing strokes. Your touch now, 4 kinds of touch: nurturing, healing, sensual, sexual. You're starting at nurturing.
Can we say those? Nurturing,
healing, sensual,
sexual.
Oh, you're starting at nurture.
It's a nice distinction between those 4 things. I've never heard that before. That's really good.
I got a million of these, Wade.
Beautiful.
So then you're doing nurturing touch now and relaxation. Now, as soon as she's totally relaxed, she's going to be done and she'll let you know. And a lot of guys are like, but wait a minute, what if she falls asleep? She won't fall asleep when you start the stroking and things like that. What it'll do is she'll be in her body and she'll be totally relaxed. And all of a sudden she's going to look at you and go, wow, he didn't grab my genitals. He gave me what I needed to relax. I love this guy. And then she's going to feel the arousal because she's gotten to the relaxation. The arousal is going to start. And then what I want you to do is I want you to peck her on the lips, just kiss her neck, kiss her collarbone. You want to peck, peck, peck. You just want to wake up. Is that the
nurturing or is that in the healing?
Now we're moving into more sensual. So now you're starting to stroke her a little more sensually.
Did I miss the healing part though?
Here's what's going to happen. That's a really good question, Wade. You are totally on it. I like it. When you disconnect, when she's had enough of being held and she's gotten the stuff off her chest and she's now relaxed and you've kissed her and you've connected with her and you've told her you love her and she's beautiful, she's going to pop up. And now you're going to be like, baby, what do you want next? And you're going to run her a menu. Would you like me to, do you have any crick in your neck, crick in your feet, anything that hurts? Do you want me to start by giving you a full body rub down? Do you want to do a make out and kiss? Where are you right now? And she'll be like, oh, honey, my right metatarsal's been killing me from those sexy shoes I wore the other night when we went out dancing. Would you just pop that out for me? And then can you just push on that lump for like 5 minutes? And you're like, of course, baby. Let me put the pillows up and lean back here against me. And let me take care of that neck. And then I'll get down there and I'll take care of that foot for you. And then once she's like, oh, I feel so much better, baby. Then you want to just kind of climb right up so she can start touching you and you want to start kissing her and you just want to start your love making from there. So then you're kissing, because here's an interesting biology nerdy fact. Our mouth, our eyes, our esophageal and duodenal sphincters, our anus, our vaginal opening, all our urethral sphincters are a system that are a lockstep system. If you ever notice that when people get turned on and their eyes get bigger and their pupils dilate, it's because that's a sphincter too.
Yes.
And when you start to kiss her, when you're opening her mouth and getting it relaxed and getting it going, it's actually opening her vagina and getting her arousal started. When you put your tongue in her mouth, don't do that right away. You want to work that little tongue in slowly. Because remember, your urge is stick it in. And you got to resist the urge. You got to resist the urge.
Right.
And when you just start playing with her lips and sticking your tongue in a little bit, you're actually giving her a testosterone injection. Your semen and saliva is full of testosterone, which is why a woman is calm, because she's got more testosterone than a woman who doesn't have sex. Have you ever seen a woman who's all like, ah! And you look at her and you're like, boy, she could really use a good one. You know, somebody should really take that girl and give her
way too high estrogen. The estrogen testosterone ratio is disproportionate. That's a really good point.
Isn't it?
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's actually going to turn her on to get a little saliva from you. And it's going to open her yoni, which is another word for vulva. It's going to get it juicy and flowing. What you'll notice actually in many cases, when you've done the soulmate embrace numerous times and she's kind of used to the pattern and it's not super new and she's not jumpy anymore and she knows that she's going to lie in your arms and allow herself to totally relax because you've got her and you're so good at it, she's going to start drooling. Drool is flow. Your fluids, your sexual fluids. Good sex is very wet between the ejaculation and the vaginal lubrication and the spit and the female ejaculation and all of the things. We are fluidy people. And that's why the water beside the bed is so important as part of setting the scene for her relaxation. You need to keep hydrating her to get her to really be lubricated and to, really flow, if you will. So that's interesting. And then you can go from there. You can, with full body touch, then she might want you to go down on her. You might enjoy having her go down on you. You could do some fun 69 type of things. What you want to do is also a lot of hand manual stimulation of her yoni. And if you're the kind of guys that starts out as all thumbs and is not great at understanding all the parts of her genitals and what to touch, or she doesn't let you look at her, or she doesn't let you go down on her, she doesn't let you touch her, she's the kind of woman who's just like, just stick it in. You've got to take control and you've got to tell her that it's going to be safe and that you're not going to hurt her and that you love the way she looks and that you want the opportunity to give her a massage because the blood flow is the most important thing. The key takeaway of this podcast is that she has as much erectile tissue inside her as you do outside. And you can see your blood flow to the tip of your penis, but the blood in the shaft, the buried shaft of your penis that's inside, it's not there. If you want to increase your erection, really have a lot of touch deep in your abdomen to that buried shaft, and you'll see that your penis will actually get longer and curve and get bigger and veinier because you've also stimulated the buried shaft. Same with her. You want to not just touch the tip of her clitoris. You want to give her a clitoral erection with your hands and your tongue and your mouth. You want to get that erectile shaft popping. Her clitoris will actually pop out. And then she's got little legs of her clitoris. Those are called the crura. They drape over the opening to the vagina. And then the other part of the clitoris is the vestibular bulbs. Those hang down off the clitoral shaft like punching bags, and they're actually underneath the opening to her vagina on each side, underneath the pubic hair, right there, that outer labia. The outer labia, what's in that is her clitoral structure called the vestibular bulbs, and those like to be puffed up. They like pressure. They like stimulation, kneading. And her mons has a lot of erectile tissue. And when you really knead the tissue above her clitoris on her mons, that fatty bump on her pubic bone, it'll actually really get her juices flowing. She'll have more ejaculatory experiences. For many women, the only thing that they've been missing to have female ejaculatory expression is getting that tissue unstuck. So the blood plasma, the ejaculate comes from our blood plasma. And so what happens as we get turned on and as we get G-spot, G-area stimulation especially, our body recruits the watery fluid, the prostatic fluid from our blood. It comes down in through the Skene's glands, in through the urethral tube and into the urethra, such that when we have a G-spot contraction, the liquid is forced out, and that's what the squirting or amrita actually is. It's not pee. Just like when you both ejaculate and urinate out of your penis, there's both things come through the same tube. It's the same with women. Both ejaculate and urine come through the same tube. We're built that way, homologously, similarly. So getting the blood flow is really, really important, especially for women who have any difficulty at all having orgasms from penetrative sex, because all that tissue that wraps around the vagina gets stimulated from the intercourse, as well as the G-spot up inside her vagina and the P-spot on the bottom floor of her vagina. So intercourse alone is enough to give women orgasms. They don't need to necessarily have additional stimulation. That's just frosting on the cake. And it's simply a learned skill. So when a lot of sexperts say, hey, that's just what men want. It's not what women want. Women want clitoral stimulation. They're totally wrong. They just haven't achieved a level of understanding that we are made to go together, symbiotic, masculine, feminine, penis in vagina. That unit works. You just have to learn how to get there by getting enough relaxation, arousal, blood flow, stimulation, understanding the parts, taking your time, speaking with your partner, encouraging your partner. And one good way to get started is put a vibrator on the clitoris during penetration so that she begins to have orgasms during penetration. It's cross-training. It's classic muscle building, right? It's cross-training. It's orgasmic cross-training. You're learning how to do those two things together, so pretty soon you don't even need the vibrator, but you can add it anytime you want. That's a great way to do it. So that's the difference between men and women. And we can talk more about different types of orgasms of females depending on time.
That's amazing. What a lot of quality gold information. And I know you're just getting started. So let's just quickly run through, I think we're coming up on the end. We're going to come back and do another one of these for sure, because this is so interesting and I think important. What are some of these 16 orgasms that a woman has? Because I'm curious.
Clitoral, G-spot, ejaculatory, perineal, anal, breastgasms, mouthgasms, orgasms from deep throating. There's erectile tissue in our throat, so the penis can slip past the epiglottal, what's the first sphincter? Is it epiglottal? Yeah, the epiglottal sphincter, and can stimulate that tissue so she actually can orgasm. Full body orgasms, so that sphincter system, because it's a lock, system that works in unison, she can have orgasms from her mouth that also give her orgasms in her yoni simultaneously. And then she can connect the dots and start to contract all the way up her whole entire alimentary system, the lumen, we're light beings. So the whole alimentary system is orgasmic, actually. You can feel a full body contraction. You can have contractions from, or orgasms from foot rubs, so footgasms. I regularly have footgasms. I lie there and have orgasms from getting my feet rubbed. Wow. You can hit up Sir Tim for some points. And stomachgasms, that's another one that I really like to have, is the erectus abdominis muscle, that long muscle that runs from the belly to the mons. If you massage deep in there and you think about grasping it like you grasp a pole, where your thumb's on one side and your fingers are on the other, and you send turn on sexy energy through your fingertips to your thumb and vice versa, and you send that intentional orgasmic energy, and you really get in there and kind of stimulate that and even shake it a little bit, that'll give her orgasms. And then there was one more too. Blended are really nice. So like G-spot, fingers in or toy in, side up at the top of the roof of the cave, with clitoral stimulation above on the outside, and sending energy from the outside fingers to the inside fingers, and doing those in unison is really nice. You can do 3 fingers, you can do all kinds of stuff. So those are good. And then, of course, just the kinds of orgasms you have from oral pleasuring. So you giving her orgasms from going down on her getting off, giving you oral pleasuring and having orgasms from that. Head rub orgasms, the spanking, So playing with your derriere, there's a ton of orgasmic pleasure in all of that tissue in your butt. So stimulation of that area. It could be soft squeezing. It could be light tapping. It could be a little bit more heavy-handed, depending on what she likes. That can put her into orgasmic pleasure. Also, power play such as holding her down and pinning her hands back, putting your hand in her hair and holding it, kind of really taking over her body, can give her full body orgasms like that. So there's a million ways, but those are some.
That's great. So tell us more about this book. What was it? Sexual Soulmates?
And Sexual Soulmates.
Yeah. So I know that, and I'm excited about this. You are doing a sexual health summit that is coming up in the very near future. Can you talk about what the summit's about? Maybe some of the people that are going to be presenting at the summit, and what's the overarching component that people are going to learn from going to this? And just so people know, we're sponsoring this summit. I'm so pumped, for lack of a better word, about this particular issue. I'm so excited about it because I think it's really needed. And tell us more. Speak. Let us know. How do we find out about this Sexual Health Summit, and what are we going to learn at it?
Okay, so the Sexual Vitality Summit is it's the newest treatments, solutions, and fixes for anything that ails you at a sexual level. And that could be emotional trauma, physical trauma. It could be loss of sensation, atrophy, erectile dysfunction, Peyronie's disease, vaginal pain with sex, lack of lubrication, incontinence, prolapse, endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, trying to go off the pill, nerve damage, anorgasmia, inability to achieve orgasm, premature ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, lichen sclerosis, using stem cells, using PRP, hair loss, reversing thinning hair, reversing baldness, fixing hearing, because it's actually like aldosterone is a sex hormone that can help reverse hearing loss, as an example. So interesting things like that you'll find out about. And then at its core, it's about how important gut health is to hormone production, and how important detoxification is once you've got your gut moving, which is why thank you so much for being a sponsor, because the combination of P3OM and the Masszymes with the HCl is the perfect 90-day gut reset. So people need that. They don't know that their hormonal production is suppressed by gut issues. So we talk about endogenous and exogenous hormones, so hormone replacement, hormone production naturally. We talk about biomarkers that you should track for sexual potency. We talk about safe lubes. We talk about natural solutions to all kinds of skin diseases and issues like that, vaginitis, cystitis, herpes, how to avoid STIs. When I just listed those things, you're like, shit, there's a lot of stuff around sexual health, isn't there?
Well, it's a summit. It's a summit, and that means there is a mountain of things to deal with. And it sounds like you've really covered every inch of this mountain, so we can really have that peak experience. I know I'm super excited about being at this event, participating in the event. And I think it's offering an incredible value about topics. And what's the beauty of it is people can actually watch this in the privacy of their own home.
For free.
For free?
Yeah.
People can go to this for free?
Yeah, it's free for an entire week from September 23rd to 29th. You get 3 to 5 videos every day. You can cherry pick or you can watch them all. And of course, like any summit, you can, if you're busy that week, or you just are like, I got 8 of these problems and I need to deep dive into this stuff. And then different people have different solutions for them. You can always purchase the package of videos and audios. And even one of the things I love about it is my partner is Health Talks, and they have this thing where you can order transcripts printed and sent to you, because for a lot of my customers, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and believe it or not, 90s, because you're sexual till the day you die if you keep yourself in good shape. They like to just sit back and read things. There's still some people who like just reading stuff. So I really like that they'll ship you the entire transcripts to read as well. And wow. I really assembled my dream team. I said, I was nervous about approaching a lot of the people that I approached. And I know a lot of people, and I feel really good about myself. Like, you obviously can tell I don't have any confidence issues, right? I'm just used to talking about all this stuff.
You radiated from the second I've met you. So
I'm very confident, but I was intimidated by the people that I invited. I was like, I hope you'll be all, you're so famous, and and they all, pretty much all, I mean, there were one or two people that just, like, they were on a book tour or they were something, they couldn't do it, but I got my dream team lined up. These are, most people, what happens is they have some kind of physical or emotional trauma around their sexuality, and they get stuck, and then they just stop having sex. And if I knew that if I showed them the myriad of options that they have for fixing it and working around it and how to talk to their partner about it and all of those things, that then I could get them unstuck and back to having physical intimacy, even if it doesn't look like the intimacy they used to have. Most people just stop having any, like, I'm not going to touch him because it'll start something and my vagina hurts and I don't want to have sex. So then they don't even touch each other anymore. And so how do I remove all the roadblocks? I do it by showing you all the amazing solutions that you are not even aware exist, because that's my area of expertise, is fixing stuff so that you can go on to go from sex to passionate lovemaking.
Wow. I am super excited. Susan, you are a pleasure on all levels. Thank you so much for sharing this. Your book is Sexual Soulmates. Where can they get that? Can you
Amazon.
The links? Amazon. And then where do they sign up for the Sexual Vitality Summit? How do we get access? How do my listeners get access to this? I'm going to be talking about this a lot. I'm going to be promoting it a lot. I think it's really important today. There's no need to suffer. There are solutions. You have these solutions. You've got the world's best experts. Where do we go?
Sexualvitalitysummit.com.
Super good. We will put this in the show notes. Susan, any last words? I want to thank you for joining us. Is anything else that you would like to share with our listeners?
I just appreciate your enthusiasm and how you stand for other people's health and vitality generally. Thank you, Wade.
Oh, thanks, Susan. Well, there you have it. Susan Bratton, Sexual Soulmates, the Sexual Vitality Summit. You've got the links. Definitely check this out. There is going to be some world-class information shared with you that's going to make a very powerful difference in your life. So thank you for joining us today. Of course, we have all kinds of podcasts for you. Wade T. Lightheart at the Awesome Health Podcast. I want to thank you for bringing Susan your best work, and we're going to bring you back on the show because I just feel like we got started. I want to learn more. I want to become more prolific myself and learn some of these key elements, because I think there's room to grow for all of us. So thanks again for joining us today. And thank you for listening today. If you love this podcast, make a little shout out, put it on YouTube, share it with your friends, and join Susan and this dream team at the Sexual Vitality Summit. Thanks so much today.
And now for a Bioptimizers fixed digestion tip. Turn cultured foods into superfoods. Raw fermented foods like sauerkraut and low sugar live yogurt can be good for you, but rarely have enough of the right probiotic strains for therapeutic benefit. So here's a way that you can turn them into superfoods. What I do is I get some raw sauerkraut or a healthy yogurt. Ideally, it's grass-fed or coconut-based, and you can empty 3 caps of P3OM into a container and mix it up thoroughly. Leave it at room temperature for a couple of hours before putting it back into the fridge. And what's going to happen is these probiotic levels will be multiplied. In fact, it doubles every 20 minutes. And then what you're going to get is you're going to have a food with strong proteolytic activity. To learn more about P3OM and why its patented strains make it the strongest probiotic available, go to www.bioptimizers.com.
Thank you for listening to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. You can find more information at bioptimizers.com.